locations across the state of Florida, right there in Celebration Point in the heart of Gator Nation. Go check them out. International Diamond Center. Gators' big win last night. I thought it was their best road win of the year. Texas is a very, very talented team. My goodness. But I thought we played really, really well, especially in the second half, late portion, pulled away. Gator baseball, regular preseason is over. They head to Miami for a three-game series down with the Hurricanes. Softball is out in California, so big weekend of Gator sports. Let's go to the Titan More hotline where our man Brent Beaird, a college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter, joins us. Good morning, Brent. How you doing?
Shane, doing okay. Good to be on with you. Glad the weather is changing to a warmer climate, shall we say. So, man, we are just a few days away from different schools in the SEC starting spring practice, which is interesting. Florida is one of the earliest ones that starts next week, but we've got a lot of, shall we say, NCAA committee meetings and things like that. It's kind of that time of the year before we start spring practice.
That is true. There are some very, very exciting, interesting games early of the
Yes.
next football season. Want to talk about those?
Yeah, there really are. Ohio State at Texas on September the 12th is certainly one of the headliner games. As we remember, Ohio State won at Ohio State last year. Arch Manning really struggled in that game and really came on as it went along. Week one is Clemson at LSU. This will be Lane Kiffin's premiere, so at LSU. So that will be quite interesting. Arizona State at Texas A&M on September the 12th. One of the most anticipated games of the year is September the 19th. That is LSU and Lane Kiffin going to Ole Miss. So, my goodness, Shane, you wonder when they'll start going to the Grove, maybe Wednesday of that week or something like that. Oklahoma at Michigan on September the 12th. And we also have the rematch of FSU at Alabama on September the 19th. So, just a few games for the folks to think about as we talk about next year a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if people saw this, but Jeff Monken, the head coach at Army, wants to change the date of the Army-Navy game. I kind of like his thoughts. What do you think about it?
Well, I have some mixed emotions about it. I mean, I think the game ought to be have as much of a window as possible so the most people can see it. Monken wants to move the Army-Navy game to Thanksgiving weekend. Now, not sure when that would be. Again, that's Thursday and Friday and Saturday. So, I mean, right now they've got more of an open window, is what they've got. Before 2009, the annual game was played the first weekend in December. That could change. Now, Michael Kelly, the athletic director at Navy, is not real infatuated with moving the game to Thanksgiving weekend, so that this is going to take a little while to be able to figure this out. But the main thing with Army Navy, college football usually always goes together with something else. The something else is that the powers to be are trying to get the playoffs started earlier, so they will finish earlier. So that obviously, by doing so, will involve Army-Navy. And by the way, next year or this coming season, Army-Navy game is in Rutherford, New Jersey, for people who are wondering where it might be. So, Shane, Army-Navy, like a lot of things, will be involved with what we do for the postseason schedule.
Yeah. Also, there's been a lot of talk about the calendar for college football. Tell us what's going on there. Also, the new targeting rule penalty, what they're going to do with that, and then these dudes that have been wearing their pants cut
Yeah.
off. Now, back when I played, you had to have your knee covered. If
Yeah.
not, they would send you out of the game. If they caught you again, they'd throw a penalty.
Right.
I just don't know if they're going to enforce it. I'll be anxious to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the things that I mean, basically what they've got on now are shorts instead of pants. Is what it amounts to, and I don't think it's so much the fashion aspect of it as it's if you've got pants, you can put and add pads. I think it's more a protection thing, so they're trying to figure that out. You've got a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes right now for this time of year with the NCAA. The rules committees are meeting, and they're looking at different situations and kind of what to do with that. The targeting penalty, as Shane mentioned, is another one of those. They're looking at if they seem like they change the targeting penalty every year, don't they, Shane?
They do.
And trying to get what they're kind of transfixed on is how fair is it, okay, if you commit a penalty and and you miss the second half, should you miss the first half of the following game? So that's kind of what they're looking at, that also is a possibility to deal with that too. So and another thing that they're talking about is, I'm curious what you think about this, is they've approved the single portal window, which is they're going to keep that in January. What they're also doing is shifting some of the spring practices to the summer. Now, they've been talking about this for a while, and this would be kind of, Shane, shall we say NFL-like? Is that a fair statement to put?
Mhm.
And then to open week 0 for all teams beginning in 2027. I think what they're probably going to end up doing is, in order to get the calendar right or better than it is now, I think they're going to move the opening of the season, Shane, maybe to where we've got the week 0 now. So I know that's a lot to think about, and they're still working on it. Some of it will pass, some of it will not. But that's kind of a synopsis of what's going on during the off season.
And then they want to try to penalize coaches now that
Yeah,
sign kids outside a portal window or something like. I can't even keep up with all these damn rules.
yeah. Well, and look, it's hard to do that, but yes, what Shane's saying is what they're trying to do is they're trying to keep everybody within this transfer portal window, which is hard to do, but that's one of the things that they are looking at. So hopefully some of that was clear, but we'll have more. I think a look at that next week when some of it clears up, and they are a little more definite than what they've got right now.
Yeah, I think they just need to figure out a way to just kind of model what the NFL does.
Yeah,
Um,
well, that's coming.
yeah,
Frankly, Shane, they really don't want to get into that. They really don't want to admit it. But the NFL is for years. It didn't happen overnight for the NFL. It's not going to happen overnight for college football either.
yep. So when those kids sign for that money, they're under contract and they
Yes,
cannot leave that school unless the team cuts them basically and they're out of their contract.
right.
The Pouncey twins, Mike and Marquise, invite you to try the mango martinis at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, handcrafted with their J.F. Hayden liqueurs. Try those flavors or find your favorite at shopjfhaydens.com. All right, Brent, real quick before we move forward, I got a couple of texts here for you on the Titan Amar text line. This one says, can you ask Brent if he can ever see a future when spring games could be between two different teams, possibly for NIL money for both schools? I personally would love a high school jamboree type of game.
Listen, that's coming quicker than we think, frankly. Now, I know Colorado trying to get a spring game with another team, and the NCAA will not allow it, but they're softening on that, and that is coming because it's going to be a revenue opportunity for teams, and it would probably be pretty attractive, frankly, for television. So even though they turned Colorado down with their proposed game this year, and I give Colorado credit for trying it, I think within, Shane, 5 years at least, if not sooner, we will actually have some spring games. And look, they proposed for years. Some schools have having a spring game with some of the smaller schools in their home state to kind of give them a little bit more money. So we'll see where that goes. But it didn't happen this year, but I think it will happen soon.
Text on the Titan our text line from Gator Josh and Mama. He says, Brent, in regards to the Army-Navy game and the college football schedule, would you rather see that game on Thanksgiving weekend or during the first week to kick off the season?
That's a great question. I think it would get swallowed up with Thanksgiving weekend if they had it the first week. Now, again, the first week would probably be championship weekend. The thing they're trying to do is to have like their own 4-hour window. And they can do that now with when the game is scheduled. But if you have it during Thanksgiving weekend or during the championship games, that may not fly. It may be easier because you have fewer games during the championship. Again, the thing they're looking at is what the main goal for this, beyond helping Army-Navy, is can they get the championship game on a sooner date, Shane, than having it the last week of January where we've got it now?
Yeah. I don't know when. I think Army-Navy needs to have their own
I agree.
day. I don't know when the right time. I definitely Duncan's referring to.
Yes.
But it would be nice if it was just the Army-Navy game was the only game played. All right, Brent, let's go around the SEC. What's going on with the Crimson?
In its 2028 season against Georgia State. Now, that's not going to excite anybody by any stretch of the imagination. They also play Ohio State that year. Hopefully, they will keep that game. There's been some talk about canceling the game with the SEC adding a 9th SEC game coming up this year. People may have forgotten this, but the SEC is going to play 9, not 8, 9 SEC games this year. But with that, schools are also encouraged, I'll put that in quotation marks, to play a really good opponent, at least one of them, in the non-conference schedule. So we will see where that goes, but Alabama trying to balance its schedule out like everybody else is right now.
What's going on with the Hogs?
Late addition, tight end, Braylon Gilbert of Georgia State again. I tell you, part of the problem with teams like Georgia State is if they've got good players that get poached by somebody else. And this guy, Braylon Gilbert, is going to Arkansas. Arkansas is also hiring Memphis quarterback coach Mitch Stewart as its quarterback coach. Former Arkansas quarterback coach Clint Trickett, that name's familiar because he played at Florida State, was named Maryland's offensive coordinator on Tuesday. So Shane, we still got a lot of not just players moving around anymore. We got coaches still moving around.
We do. All right, the Gators start practice Tuesday, believe it or not. They almost didn't start practice that Tuesday, but they did pass the gauntlet, which is a 6-station deal that they set up. The whole team has to pass it within a certain amount of time. So they did that the other day. But any news coming out of Gainesville?
Yeah, if people haven't heard, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but the Orange and Blue game is going to be April the 11th. Now, people are wondering, where is Easter and all this? Easter is the first Sunday in April. So that will actually help because a lot of schools do their best to try to schedule around Easter and do it on another weekend. So with it being the 5th of April, that will help, as the Gators have seen having their spring game on the 11th. And we can say that I haven't heard a team that's not having one, Shane, unless you have. But the good thing is now that the portal is in January, they are going to have spring games again because they don't have to worry about having a second portal like we did last year, right, Shane? That was in the middle of April.
Very true. You know what else is the weekend of April 11th, Brent?
Uh, Good question.
A tradition like no other. I believe the Masters is
Oh,
that
the
weekend.
Masters.
I
Oh,
believe
yeah.
it is. So I may have to have my my phone on the Masters during the orange and blue game, watching it.
I like that.
All right, what's going on with the Dogs up in Athens?
Yeah. The spring practice for Georgia now will begin on March 17th. Now, again, schools basically just kind of do their spring for however it helps them. The annual G-Day game will be April the 11th. So, I'm sorry, April the 18th. So what that means is, gosh, Georgia starts and it doesn't matter, but Georgia starts 2 weeks after Florida, just to kind of get a guess as what they're doing, and their spring game is going to be later. So we're kind of with the quirk of the calendar, and I think for Easter, Shane, well, we will see some spring games that will probably be a week, maybe even two later than they normally are.
Let's move down to South Carolina. Brent, how important is this year for Shane Beamer?
Oh, I think it's going to be very important. And they have made several staff changes with that. New special team coordinator. They've hired Matthew Smiley to replace Joe Camillus. So I don't know if you know Smiley or not, Shane, but that's there. What's interesting is that's kind of the reversal of what we're seeing. A lot. No, I don't know if it's a lot, but there are some of these college assistants who are going to the NFL because things aren't as crazy in the NFL right now as they are in college. But the reality of this is Beamer has replaced 8 assistants during the off season chain. They've also got an injured Jacarius Peak, offensive lineman. He injured himself during winter workouts, so he is going to be out for a while. Not real sure when he will be back, but that's one team that cannot afford very many injuries. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right. The Tennessee Vols will have a new quarterback next year. I'm really surprised that Joey Aguilar didn't win his appeal.
Yeah, I am too. I would agree with that. What the smaller picture here is Tennessee's going to have a different quarterback. Now, this is odd. Whoever Tennessee's quarterback's going to be this year, it'll be the 5th different starting quarterback in 5 seasons. That's a lot, isn't it, Shane?
Yeah.
George McIntyre or Faison Brandon are kind of the incumbents here who may get it, but Aguilar, we thought Aguilar would get his request to play for another year, but it was turned down. Now, Aguilar's played at a community college in California and obviously some other schools too, like Appalachian State. So that really hurt Tennessee by not having all they could bring these other guys on a little slower than they were normally going to now. So that will be interesting to see how that goes.
What's up with the Aggies?
Spring game this is kind of a week for spring games being revealed. April the 18th for A&M. Obviously, the mission is free. They start. Matter of fact, the first A&M spring practice is set for March the 20th. So that actually is a little bit later, coming off an 11-2 season. Had a very good season. Got to replace 15 starters on the team, but unfortunately, people remember what you did at the end, and they lost. Didn't even score a touchdown against Miami. But again, Mike Elko has done a pretty good job there at A&M, so they're looking for another big season.
The Texas Longhorns, Brent, do you think they're going to be the preseason pick to win the conference?
Maybe, especially with Arch coming back. So much of that, that's a good point. So much of that determines if you have a quarterback returning, and they do in Arch Manning, then they're going to, I think, fine-tune their running back situation. Yeah, matter of fact, Texas might be your number one pick in the preseason magazines,
Yeah.
which are coming out in a couple of months. So that would be interesting. By the way, Billy Gonzalez, you may know more on this, Shane, has been named a wide receiver analyst at Texas. So if you wonder where he went, that's where he ended up.
Yeah. I just think Texas, a lot of people don't like Arch. I thought he had a hell of a year last year. If you go back and really watch how
Yes,
he played. But
yes,
I think with Will Muschamp, that is just a scary situation with
really.
Sark calling plays and Muschamp running the defense.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. I agree. And Shane, you can comment on this, but I just thought Arch got better as the season went
yeah,
on. I thought he got a lot more comfortable. That made a difference, did it not?
there's no question. I thought he had a heck of a year. Uh, any chance he's suing the NCAA for get his seventh year of playing quarterback?
I don't know. Right now, look, I would have said what, Shane, 2 or 3 months ago that he probably would have done that. But what we're seeing now is the NCAA is kind of doubling down. We mentioned Joe Aguilar a few minutes ago. His request to come back was denied. Chandler Morris, as Shane said, is trying to get a year of eligibility. Now, what's happened before is when the NCAA was sued for something that they kind of gave in, or they didn't win it in the court system. Things are changing now with this, so that's a lot of years to say the least. And by the way, speaking of the ACC, I've got some FSU news from Noah's 24/7. I'll give credit where it came from. It looks like this year there's not going to be a booster tour, that it will probably return in the future. Obviously, Mike Norvell, this is an incredibly important year for him. Norvell is going to call plays this year, so that will be interesting. So no comment from FSU or the boosters, but no, for what we understand from 24/7 and the Knowles report, that there will not be a booster tour this year for FSU.
Brent, I know you follow basketball as well. Just your
Yes.
thoughts on the Florida basketball team right now. They host Arkansas, who's probably the second best team in the league, Saturday in the
Right.
Oklahoma Center. But just your thoughts on how Florida's playing right now.
They're playing as well as anybody right now in the country. They've got a pretty firm lead. They're 13-2. Alabama, Arkansas are 11-4. The Arkansas game coming up this weekend is going to be fun. I know you've talked about this, but game day will be there. That will be a lot of fun. I tell you what, Shane, that game last night was close, or this week was close. But man, they just turned on the Jets at what 7, 8, 9 minutes left in the game, and they were just unstoppable at that point. They're playing extremely well. They played well all year long with their front court. What's happening now is the guards are getting so much better. So the reality is, I mean, they are an incredibly complete team. And I know people have talked about Michigan and Duke and Arizona and those teams. Well, Florida, frankly, may be as good as they are. So hopefully there'll be a big crowd in the for game day on Saturday morning. I think there probably will. So that should be a lot of fun to watch that, Shane.
Yeah, I think in what I've seen with my eyes the last week or two, they're playing really well right now.
They are.
Alex Condon, it's almost like he's like, you know what? I'm going to do what I do well. And I got to give
Yep.
Colin Hartman and Todd Golden a lot of credit here because I feel like, everybody talks in the off season how he's got to develop this three-point shot. He's got to do this,
Mhm.
do that for NBA people. Who gives a damn about the NBA? You're playing
Really?
for the Florida Gators. Go
That's
win
right.
games for them. Ever since he just stays in the paint,
Hmm.
he is dominating people.
He is.
And
Oh
and
yeah.
and like I said, I don't give a damn if you ever make a three-pointer. Don't even try him. I know he made one
Yeah.
last night, but if he's in the paint and stays in the paint, this team is very, very good. When he
Oh
gets out
yeah.
on the perimeter, that ain't when it's good. And it's almost like they said, to hell with the NBA, what they want to see. This ain't the time for you to do that. You need to go
No.
win games, help us win games now. And that's what I think what I've seen has changed this basketball team.
Well, Condon had his third straight 20-point game.
Right.
Boogie Flan had 22 himself. They shot basically 60% from the field and
Hmm.
44% from three. They were 8 of 18. Shane, listen, the way they rebound and the way they play inside, if their guards get on fire during the tournament, they might be unbeatable.
Right. And they shoot a high percentage because of the sets we run, and we get so many layups and lobs.
Yes,
That that's why
yes.
we shoot at such a high percentage. All right, real quick, Brent, before we get you out of here, Joseph on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, says he saw something like there's 5,000 or players still in the portal. Who takes all those roster spots? Are teams just under the roster count? Yeah, I mean,
Well, yeah,
you can only have what 100 and what is it, 120 on your roster these
yeah,
days, I
yeah,
think.
something like that. Yes. Well, see, and Shane's comment on this before. The real shame of this is you've got kids right now who are in the portal, and they're just there, and that I don't know, Shane, if it's an agent or who tells them the wrong stuff, but the problem is they take a risk, they get in there, they don't get picked up, and frankly, at least for a period of time, they're just virtually stuck. So, I feel for them very much. I don't know what is going to be done about that in the long run, but guys really need to think twice, don't they, Shane, before they make a move.
Yeah, I mean it's not just that, but in today's world, I say it all the time. It's a way also coaches after they've seen that player for a year or so, they may be like, you know what, we're wasting the spot on him. We're just going to
Yeah,
say, you know
yeah.
what, we'll help you go in the portal.
Hmm.
So it's very, very interesting. Brent, good stuff as always. Appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you next week.
Always enjoy it, bud. Take care. Have a great week.
That's Brent Beaird, our college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter, joining us on the Titan Emerald Hotline. Take a quick time out, come back. We'll be joined by Dr. Pete Indelicato. We're going to talk about some injuries and get his thoughts on Lindsey Vaughn, how severe her injury was. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Atlantic Roofing, Campus USA Credit Union, International Diamond Center, J.F. Hayden's Craft Liqueurs, Los Linderos Tequila, Meldon Law, Titan MRI and Imaging, Castaway Sauce, UF Health Orthopedics. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sports, Comfort Temp, Florida Cracker Oyster, Electronics World, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, McDonald's of Gainesville, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Advocare, MG&A Wealth. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And to advertise, call my man Freddie, 352-284-3733.
Naysayers. setbacks, injuries. Life throws a lot of hurdles your way. The key is just keep jumping them.
Coach, you know, it always impressed me how you beat Florida State to win the 1996 National Championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You know, you won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spur's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave Los Landeros tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean head beer coach, 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Landeros tequila, smooth enough to drink neat, bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Landeros tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Landeros.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
When the late, great Charlie Daniels would need a place for jewelry he could trust, he turned to International Gold, Diamond, and Watch Exchange.
Hi, I'm Charlie Daniels, and I live in Tennessee, but when I get ready to do something serious about jewelry or a gift for my wife or somebody, I always get in touch with the folks at International Gold and Diamond Exchange here in Gainesville. There's a lot of reasons for that. One reason is they sell nothing but the best.
Find out what Charlie was talking about for yourself at International Gold, Diamond, and Watch Exchange at 3440 West University Avenue and online at igdwex.com.
To the International Diamond Center Studios, Rose Ogre State Farm offers a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. We're still waiting on Dr. Pete. I got a feeling Dr. Pete's asleep. I think he told me he was going with the team to Austin for the game, so I don't know what time they got back, but he will be fine if he doesn't show up. Sean's question on Facebook Live brought to you by Meldon Law. He says, question, if Florida wins and is the SEC champion outright and wins the tournament, why aren't they a number one seed? That's a possibility if they win out. If not, I think there'll be a 2 seed. You know, so if they don't lose another game, kind of how they did last year, going through the SEC tournament, I think they will be a 1 seed. If they lose one, I think they'll be a 2 seed. So time will tell. Dan says on Facebook Live, FSU's busy picking up cans on the side of the road for some cash. Yeah, they're struggling. They're struggling. And Joseph mentions Tommy Houck tweaked his ankle last night. Yeah, he came back in. Obviously, it'll be sore today. He has tomorrow off. They'll do treatment. Yeah, hopefully he's ready to go. Which I think he will be against Arkansas. Arkansas, extremely talented, very long team, athletic. Their point guard, Darius Acuff, is a phenomenal player. I think he's going to win the SEC Player of the Year. I hope Tommy Houck does, but what Acuff has done as a freshman is truly remarkable. Baron71 says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Hopefully we'll have Dr. Pete. I'll let y'all know if we do. If not, you got me, and then we'll get Zach's comments here in just a second. But Xavier Lee made some big shots last night. We may not have a Walter Clayton this year, but Lee and Boogie are showing signs they can step up high level when they need it. I think they do a lot of good things, man. They do a lot of really good things. So it's a great basketball team. I think it goes to show you how great a coach Todd Golden and his staff are. But I'm telling you right now, I've seen a difference in this team due to Condon not worrying about NBA stuff. That is the biggest thing to me. is he stay your ass in the paint. You can set ball screens out in the perimeter, then roll to the basket and get lobs. That's what he's been doing. Been getting lobs. Tim wants to know on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, where does College Game Day set up on Saturday? I don't know the answer to that. I'm pretty sure they do it inside the O'Connell Center, right there on the court, because the game's not till 8:30 that night, and that's what they do a lot with the basketball. Somebody that watches College Game Day would know this better than I do. I don't watch it.
Yeah, I
but I've
see
seen it.
that they'll be at the Stephen C. O'Connell Center on Saturday starting at 10. Or the
Yeah.
broadcast will start at 10, rather.
Yeah, start inside the O'Connell Center. Zach, what have you seen the difference in the last week or so of the Florida Gator basketball team?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're definitely coming into their own. They kind of sleptwalked through that game against South Carolina last week. Not that I could really blame them too much for that. But when it comes time to face a good opponent like with Texas last night, they get it together and they're able to get over those humps. And you did mention the SEC Player of the Year earlier, and Thomas Howell. I do see him listed as a candidate, but he's kind of far down the line. Actually, the top person I see at the top of that list right now is LeBaron. Is it Philon from Alabama? Yeah, he's the guy that I see at the top of the list, and I see Acuff coming in at second on that.
For Player of the Year?
Yeah, for SEC Player of the Year.
Oh, I think LeBaron Philon is a really good player, but what Darius Acuff is doing to me, he'll definitely be the Freshman of the Year. So I doubt they're going to give the Freshman of the Year award and the Player of the Year award to the same guy. I wouldn't think, but that's interesting. So Tommy Houck is the third guy on that list.
Not third, but I do see him mentioned on the list just a little bit further down, like
Interesting.
fifth or sixth.
Okay, interesting. This text on the Titan Mar text line from Kevin says he thinks Boogie has a big game against Arkansas. I forgot he's playing his old team. That will hopefully, sometimes when you play your old team, you want to do too much just to stay within himself, which I think he's been great the last couple of games, handling the football, not turning it over, and realizing what he does well. So it should be an electric atmosphere Saturday in the O'Connell Center. So Zach, when you look, because you follow college basketball quite a bit, right now we talked with JC about this the other day, yesterday, I guess. There's about 8 or 9 teams that have a chance to win the national title. Who do you think in your mind, who are the 4 that could go to the Final Four? Obviously, you got to see the bracket and that type of stuff, but who do you think the 4 best teams in America are right now?
Yeah, I don't know if I have 4 in mind, but it's hard not to say Duke with the way that the Boozer boys are playing so far. And actually, I'll throw the Gators in there as well. Why not? But I don't know what side, and like you said, the bracket they're going to be on. I feel like the fool's gold, as always, is in Arizona. They remind me so much of like the San Diego and LA Chargers, how they're always able to dominate the regular season and then they get bounced. It's kind of the common thing. And I feel like they do have a good team there, but it's hard to not say that. And then also Kansas. Well, JC and I actually mentioned this earlier. He in particular mentioned that they play really good team defense, even when they don't have the Acuff guy playing. And so if he decides to play in March Madness and he does provide the scoring they need, well, we could see them going on a pretty big run. Not Acuff, but the guy from the Kansas that keeps on sitting out all the games. I mean. They could go on a run. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if they get him to buy in, I guess I could see them going on a big run with the team they have around him.
He's a phenomenal talent. A lot of people compare him to Kobe Bryant, but boy, there's a mess going on there at Kansas with all that. Hard to believe what guy just pulls himself out of the game. Baron71 on YouTube, brought to you by Quag Plum, asked here, did I ever play against Ole Miss? No, I did not. Never had an opportunity, unfortunately. That would have been fun. And then Brent says UConn stomped St. John's last night. They did. The Huskies, man, whew, that's a good ball club. I think that Dan Hurley and Ty Golden are the 2 best coaches in America right now. I really do. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, it's hard not to say that Todd Golden could be at the beginning stages of a dynastic type run if he just keeps on reloading and rebuilding. I don't see any reason not to. Now, Dan Hurley, I do remember that one of our most viewed clips from last year was the one that started off with you calling him a prick after the the Gators played them last year. Yeah, he does do a really good job, but he kind of has a tendency to rub guys the wrong way, and I could see that kind of trickling down to the players. Whereas Todd Golden, I feel like he brings an energy to the room. I feel like he kind of hypes things up, and I think that he's the type of guy that these college age players would want to play for. Like if I were a young college age basketball player, and the playing time was even, the pay was even, and everything else across the board was even, and I just simply had to choose between playing for Dan Hurley and living up in Connecticut, or playing for Todd Golden and living in Florida, definitely the Gators every time.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know how many kids, because I mean, pretty much, UConn. I think UConn's been the most dominant basketball program in the last 20 years. I think we're right up there with them. But yeah, the living and Hurley can be a prick. There's no question about that. John's question on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melon Law, says, "How do you expect the Florida Miami series to play out this weekend?" But man, both teams, their little preseason is over with, so to speak. Miami supposedly has been scoring a ton of runs. I think it's critical that we get off to a good start tomorrow on Friday. But we'll know more about our baseball team after this series for sure. Joseph says there will never be another Black Mamba. I agree, but the NBA folks kind of compare him to them. All right, Andy's got a good question here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melon. Again, I apologize, Dr. Pete. I'm pretty sure Dr. Pete's still asleep. I bet the basketball team, let's see, that game got over like what, 9:30 Eastern. Yeah, they probably got back pretty late last night. Andy says, with the combine starting today, can you talk about your experience? Did you have a lot of interviews? I did not have a lot of interviews. I had a few. It was I weighed in at a whopping 180 pounds at the combine. Combine is not a good place for me to go. I'm not a big combine guy, maybe because I was not a good combine guy, but I don't care how much a guy bench presses. I don't care how, obviously vertical jump shows some explosion. You need to run a good time if you're a certain position, but turn the tape on and you can tell if a guy can play or not. That's the most important thing to me. I can't tell you. Go ahead, Zach.
Yeah. So I want to say, if that's the case, I'm curious. So, if you were an NFL GM and you had, say, a top 10 pick, what would you look for in a quarterback prospect that you would want to take with such a hot pick? Like, what would be the qualities, attributes, etc.?
Well, he needs to be a certain size to me. It's not, it doesn't have to be 240, but 215, 220, because you got to take the pounding, right? I don't think people realize quarterbacks, they don't only get hit a few times a game, but when they get hit, they are a standing target and you don't see it coming. And when you are driven into the ground with a guy who's 280 or 300 pounds, that's a tremendous amount of force on your body. Obviously, you need a decent arm. You don't have to have a great arm. But the tape tells me, can the guy run an offense? Can he win football games? And can he throw completions? Because when I used to do the camp, me, Kerwin, and Danny did a camp, I used to stand up and tell the kids, look, the number one job of a quarterback is to throw completions. If you can't throw completions, you can't play this position. Go find another one. Because think about it. And when I say throw completions, Zach, what I'm referring to is when a guy runs a slant, put it right on him. Don't throw it 100 miles an hour. Throw him a nice catchable ball, because how many times have you heard in all your days of sports, these people say, well, the ball hit the receiver's hands, he should catch it. No. The quarterback controls a lot of that by the pace and velocity put on that football and ball placement. So to answer your question, I need a dude that can understand what I'm doing offensively. He understands what the defense is trying to do to him. But the biggest thing is, can he throw completions? And that's what I think the two quarterbacks the Gators have this year. And I'm not talking about NFL. I believe they throw a bunch of completions coming up. because I've not seen Philo throw the ball in person. I've seen it on tape. I've seen Tramel Jones throw the ball in person a lot. He throws different pace throws, which means they're catchable footballs, but he knows where to go with them. So I don't know if I answer your question, but that's
No,
what
absolutely.
that's what I
that.
see. Somebody here wants to know what my 40 time. I want to say it was like a 4.7-ish. I ran a 4.6 a couple of times here as a junior when they used to time us. But I don't care what my quarterback runs in the 40. Do not care. Does he have good feet though? That's crucial. I would tell all the young quarterbacks out there in today's world, jump rope and do box jumps at a young age to try to develop your feet. A lot of times you're blessed with great feet, just like you're blessed with a great arm. You can improve it a little bit, but
yeah. When you say that, that reminds me of two guys that definitely have not had fast 40 times in the combine, that have had a lot of success as a pocket passer lately, were Tom Brady and Joe Burrow. Like when people think about speed, they think of Lamar Jackson, the guy that can take off, the Justin Fields that can take off a run down field. But what those two guys do so well is their pocket awareness, their ability to step up in the pocket, their ability to take just one slide step to the left or one slide step to the right, and then step in there and deliver and make a throw. And that allows them to play more consistently. They don't get the home run balls like you see from some of these guys that throw the ball downfield. They can chuck it and run and throw it in the run, but they get that consistency, and that's what leads to winning. And that's probably a big part of the reason why Brady was able to win so many games and championships over such a long period.
no doubt about it. Those two guys could handle the pocket. Joe Burrow's phenomenal fundamentally in the pocket. Lamar's a freak athlete, right? But you said Justin Fields can't read defense. You will never convince
right,
me.
Lamar can, but yeah, Lamar cannot.
Yeah, Lamar's a very good
struggles.
quarterback. Yep, for sure. John on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, says, I've seen several interviews with John Sumrall. The one common denominator is people compare Sumrall to a young Urban Meyer, and he will have a tough physical team. Have those been your takeaways too? Yes. But I will say this, Sumrall reminds me a lot of, he has some Coach Spurrier in him, because when he talks, he says what's on his mind. It's not coach speak. And he also said he does not care who you are, you have to earn playing time. That has not been the case around here recently. And Coach Spurrier, you had to earn playing time, and he played the best players. So I think Sumrall has some characteristics of both Spurrier and Urban Meyer, in my opinion. Joseph says 4.6 ain't too shabby for QB in those days. You make it sound like you were a 5 flatter. No, I have good feet. I had good feet. Just was small. I was 6'3", 180 pounds. You ain't gonna get drafted being that small. Couldn't gain weight. MSRK says Stafford can run, but he has pocket presence. He's freaking ridiculous. He's so good. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Go visit them at peachlanddental.com. Tomorrow's program, we'll have JC back. We'll see who the guest is going to be. We may try to get Dr. Pete if he wants to pay us fine, but we'll definitely get him on, because I'm interested to ask him, because Lindsey Vaughn, she tore ACL supposedly on one of the practice runs. And then did that have anything to do? I know she tripped is the wrong word, but got caught in one of those gates, and it was just a terrible, terrible injury. So I really want to get him on to talk about it. Brent says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, I'm telling y'all, Sumrall and Golden are cut from the same cloth. They're very similar, man. They have a lot of energy. And we know Ty Golden can coach. So it's going to be fun for sure to see what happens. And they crank it up on Tuesday. Again, want to thank Brent Beaird for joining us. Apologize for Dr. Pete. We'll get him on for sure. Appreciate y'all hanging around, and we will be here tomorrow. Have a great day, folks. Take care.